Hi, welcome to Time Out from Grace Institute. We hope this is going to be helpful for you. We have revamped what we used to do as a lunch and learn that was a longer format. We're going to cut it down and just give you 15 minutes or less of some helpful tips and some tools that you can use with your church and with leaders to further your ministry. So we're really excited about this. It's going to be an opportunity for you maybe to take some points, and even if you show this video to leaders, it won't take your entire meeting time. It will just take a few short minutes, and then you can use that and move on. So
it's less a lunch and more of a high octane snack.
That's right. That's right. So welcome. We hope it's helpful. Today we thought we'd start out talking about how to do a church checkup. And we've had several conversations with churches in the last few months. And one of the things that we've realized is that the way that we have monitored church growth and church vitality really doesn't give us a full picture of what church is all about and if we are doing what we need to be doing to further the kingdom. So we thought that we would instead think of talking about just attendance numbers, which is something that we all think about,
or offering.
And the offering's usually looked at as, are we meeting our budget?
Yeah.
Which we both think is a little bit short-sighted for what we need to be doing for the furthering of the kingdom of God and the growth of our churches. So since it's very important to us that we help churches not only maintain and get a vision, but to reach out and reach the community that they're in, we thought we would talk about ways that we think would be helpful for a church to do a little checkup and monitor and see what the health of the church is.
Yeah, let's get to this.
Yeah.
This excites me. And can I bring up the first one?
Sure.
All right, first one I think is to watch to see, first of all, are you developing a culture of radical hospitality? And I don't mean just are we a friendly church, because people can be friendly with each other, but they can be inhospitable as can be.
Right.
And so, that's one thing to watch and measure, is that increasing? And part of that has to do with, have you trained people to give a first impression that is warm and accessible? Are you helping newcomers receive everything they need when they walk in the door?
Yeah.
Are things set up so that they don't have to wonder where the bathrooms are? All those kinds of things. And are you building up a culture where people want new people? That's a tough one, because wanting people you've never met is not the easiest thing to do.
I think it's a good thing to say as churches. We say, yes, we want our church to grow, and of course that's what we should say. But in reality, one of the things that we've realized in the last summer, as we've been going and visiting to different churches and seeing how other people do things, one of the things we realize is that a lot of times we're really comfortable with who we are as a church, the people that we have. We like walking in knowing people. There becomes a language that is kind of internal, and we know what we mean by something, but if a new person comes in, would they know what we're talking about? So we would suggest asking someone to come in sort of as a secret shopper. We've done a video that I'll lead you to if you'd like to learn more about what we call a seeker walk and what it's like to walk from the parking lot in, and some of the things you can do to be hospitable. But if you really want to know, have someone come in that doesn't know other people and just ask them at the end of the day, get together with them for coffee and say, how did we treat you? Were we welcoming? Because I think that hard reality is something that we need to really be willing to look at. We may think that we're being hospitable, but if we have someone come in and say, this part made me feel uncomfortable, that could radically change how we interact with people that are new that come into the church.
Yeah, and there's kind of a heart that goes underneath the behavior, and that is to constantly be talking with people and training them and teaching them and resensitizing them through some of the things that Michelle just said, to help them understand and care about how somebody feels walking in. Not just whether we feel good about how we're acting, but to actually at their heart care about whether somebody feels welcome, or whether they feel like they've been turned away, or they had to make all the effort to get involved.
Right. So radical hospitality is really a necessity. The second one I love, it's passionate engagement. And oftentimes we find that people are engaged or in attendance, I will say that, in attendance of church, of worship services, of maybe even some activities that we do at church. But it is one thing to attend, and it's another thing to be passionately engaged. And we think that we have seen that vital churches have passionately engaged people, which means that they engage in worship. They don't sit back and evaluate. They don't not sing when it's a song that they don't like. They do not look at their watch to make sure we are under an hour because that's what was promised to us. There's just an environment of we are here to worship and we're going to give our all in that, and that's part of that engagement. Another part of engagement is to grow spiritually. And we as a church need to make sure that we have opportunities for people to do that, whether it's in Bible study or small groups or specialty kinds of events where you have people engaging in conversations. Sometimes it's as simple as having a group of people get together and talk about something that they have in common, whether it's a movie that they go see together, then have a faith conversation afterwards about kind of what they feel. Because you have to have entry points for people. There's somebody who's been in church for a long time that may be much more comfortable with a really in-depth Bible study. But to get people to that stage, we need to also offer them some things where they can walk in and not feel too nervous, but have a little bit of faith growth and understanding so that they can move.
Yeah, I think one of the ways of thinking about it is we don't always want to invite people to the game so they can sit in the stands. You know, we're inviting people to get out on the field and to be involved in those things and to gradually make their way from that initial visit into more of involvement so they feel like they're a part of this team of the kingdom that we're wanting people to be a part of. And that doesn't happen accidentally.
Right.
You know, you don't just hope people show up and then find places to get involved. Churches have tried that for years, and it has never really worked. You need to have an intentional process of moving people into a higher level of engagement. Otherwise, they'll just sit in the stands and watch or leave.
Right. And engagement is not just participation in the programs of church. Engagement is engaging really in their relationship with God, and as that develops, things happen. They get more engaged in worship. They get more connected with people in their church community because they're in Bible studies with them or in other service, which is another thing that we really encourage. They get involved in some service activities, not just serving within the church, but doing things for the community at large. And another thing that we need to teach people to do is how to be generous, and that spirit of generosity grows as someone becomes passionately engaged in the relationship with God. Right?
Right, and one of the ways of communicating that to people is that getting engaged is not just to make them a good church person.
Right.
It isn't just to please God, although it does, but it's for their benefit. If you ask the happiest Christians you know, why are you happy? It's not because they're sitting on the sidelines or that they are not engaged what they believe is a call from God. It's because they are engaged and they feel like they have a purpose, and sometimes it's worship, sometimes it's baking a pie for a neighbor or something like that. But these people really are at it, and that's why they are happy.
Yeah.
And so it's their benefit to help them move across the line.
That engagement, I think, is awesome because it flows over into our third point, the third checkup point that you can look at with your congregation, which is, are people intentionally invitational? Are they intentionally inviting people that they come in contact with on a daily basis to worship with them, to get to know them? We speak a lot about the fact that we are not just trying to build churches and build good church people, that we're wanting them to have a relationship with God. But one of the benefits of church is that it's a great entry point. Mm-hmm. Worship is a great, and sometimes events at churches are great entry points where we can say, I don't have all the answers, but hey, I've really, really grown and changed, and I felt unforgiven and unforgivable. Mm-hmm. And I came to this place, and now I realize that I am not only loved by God and forgiven by God, but that is a gift for everybody, and hey, I'd like to share that with you. And that's a lot of churchy speech right there. I'm not thinking people are going to probably say that, but the idea of, I've experienced something great, sort of like a good restaurant, why don't you come with me and see if it doesn't help you as well?
Yeah, and a couple of things about that. Just like the other things, there's always a heart that's underneath the behavior.
Right.
And so one of the things I would suggest on this thing is to realize that if people are not inviting, is that saying that maybe there's not enough going on in their lives? Because I think invitation is as natural as falling off a log. And if something is going on in your life, just like movies or restaurants and things like that, you automatically invite people to that or tell them about it. But if people are keeping it a secret and you're letting your front sign do all the inviting, then one of the things to ask yourself is, besides, if we're going to create a culture of invitation, how do we make sure something's happening in these people's lives that is so exciting, and make sure that environment and the teaching and all the things that we have control over that is on our part, that God can work in these people's lives and they can get on fire.
Absolutely.
And want to invite people.
Absolutely. And part of, I think, our responsibility as leaders is to model that, to share times when we, in passing or in a conversation with a friend, talked about our relationship with God and just invited someone to come to worship with us. I think people get afraid and they need to hear how it's done. And also, we can do some simple things of offering people some opportunities to have that happen. Giving them little postcards or little business cards to hand out to people is a less threatening way. Encouraging your church to use Facebook and other social media is excellent, because I can write something on Facebook and never have to say anything to somebody face to face, but I'm still inviting and getting it out there and teaching people how to do that.
Yeah, or an electronic invitation that
Right.
can be
Or
passed
like,
on. Yeah, there's
absolutely.
lots of things to do.
Yeah.
Give them ways to do it, but cultivate the heart to want to do it.
Right.
And
So-
that's
and
our three.
That's our three. So
Okay.
as you go out, we hope that you will spend some time talking with your church and also thinking about, for your own self, if you are radically hospitable, if you are intentionally invitational and passionately engaged in your church and your worship, and most especially in your relationship with God. So we hope this has been helpful. We look forward to seeing you next month. We will have a special guest, so we're excited about that. Thanks for joining us.